My name is Ava Lane, and I went to prison for a murder that never happened. They said I killed my fiancé. They said I pushed him to the edge, lit a match, watched a yacht burn, and walked away like people are just paper to me. They said a lot of things that fit together too perfectly, like a story you'd write if you hated me. But the truth doesn't always come dressed in silk. Sometimes, it hides in shadows, waiting for the right moment to burn its way into the light. I didn't grow up poor or struggling. In fact, my twin sister Ivy and I were born into the kind of life most people only dream about. Our father, Graham Lane, was the heir to old money. Not flashy wealth, but the kind tied up in estates, art collections, and trust funds that had existed for generations. My mother, Celeste, was beautiful and cold. Everyone whispered she married my father for the money, not for love. To me, even as a child, it always felt true. From the start, Ivy and I were opposites. She was the sun, radiant, charming, adored. I was the quiet one. The studious one. See, Ivy didn't just shine. She burned through everything I built. When I stayed up late to write an essay, she'd sneak into my room, read it, and then turn in her own version that somehow sounded exactly like mine. When I practiced for a music recital, she charmed the teacher into giving her the solo instead. When I earned a scholarship, Ivy found a way to accidentally benefit from it. And the worst part? Our mother excused it all. "Oh, it's just sisterly competition," Celeste would say, sipping her wine, her eyes sparkling only for Ivy. "That's what makes you stronger, Ava. Don't pout." But it wasn't a competition. It was theft, wrapped in a smile. The only one who really saw me, was Nana Elise. She lived in a house filled with books and jasmine plants, far away from the glitter of family parties. Her love for me wasn't loud, but it was real. Now, the Lane family's wealth wasn't like ordinary money. It wasn't just bank accounts and stocks. It was governed by something called the Vesna Circle, a secretive council stretching back centuries. Every Lane family member had some part in it, but only one person at a time held the Vesna key. The key wasn't jewelry or just a symbol. It was power. The one who carried it could sign off on major asset sales, authorize capital releases, and, most importantly, veto any decision the circle tried to push through. It made the keyholder untouchable. But there was a rule buried deep in the bylaws: if the keyholder is convicted of murder, the key automatically passes to the next eligible person in the family. At the time, it felt like a dusty technicality. No one in the Lane family could ever imagine such a thing happening. But that rule would come to define my life. And it would destroy almost everything I thought I knew about family. The summer before my 21st birthday, the air in the Lane house felt like glass. My father, Graham, had always been the anchor in our stormy family. He was quiet, thoughtful, and endlessly patient with me. While Ivy and Mother filled the halls with glittering parties and gossip, Dad was the one who slipped into my room late at night just to check my math problems or ask if I'd eaten dinner. So when whispers began circling that he'd found out about Mother's affair, I felt the world tilt. Celeste Lane wasn't the type to be embarrassed. She was the type to be cornered, and cornered animals are dangerous. My father had a prenup signed decades before. It said if Celeste ever cheated, she'd lose everything: her claim to the estate, her place in the family trust, even the mansion she loved to parade her friends through. If he filed for divorce, she'd walk away with nothing but her designer gowns. And then, before he could act, he died. The doctors said it was sudden. A heart attack. These things happen, they told me, but I knew my father. He was healthy. He'd just gone in for a full checkup the week before. When I asked questions, Mother's eyes hardened like diamonds. "Don't make a scene, Ava. That's just life." Ivy didn't cry at all. She wore a tasteful black dress, smiled softly at the reporters, and accepted condolences like a queen stepping into her crown. I felt like a shadow at my own father's funeral. The will was read 2 weeks later, and for the first time in my life, I saw my mother mad because my father had skipped her. Entirely. The estate, voting rights, and most importantly, stewardship of the Vesna key went to Nana Elise. I remember Mother's sharp intake of breath, her painted lips pressed into a tight line. She didn't argue, not in front of the lawyers, but her silence was heavier than shouting. When she tried to push through a risky sale of family land a month later, Nana refused to sign. The Vesna trust isn't a plaything, Nana told her firmly. Your debts are not our burden. Mother's face flushed with fury, but Nana stood firm. For the first time, I saw someone strong enough to say no to Celeste. It gave me hope. For a moment, I thought maybe the storm was breaking. And then suddenly Nana died. It was winter, cold and sharp, when the call came. They said it was an accident. She'd collapsed alone in her home. But something inside me twisted. Nana always wore a medical alert bracelet. She was careful, precise. She didn't just collapse without help on the way. At the funeral, Mother's tears looked practiced, Ivy's hugs felt hollow, and I stood there numb, remembering the last words Nana had whispered to me, steady wins. I didn't know then how much I would cling to those 2 words. A week later, Nana's lawyer, Eleanor Park, called me to her office. I thought it was about estate papers or funeral business. Instead, Eleanor slid a velvet-lined box across her desk and looked at me with steady eyes. Inside lay the Vesna key. Ava, she said, your grandmother named you as the next key holder. For a moment, I couldn't breathe. Me? Not Ivy, not Mother, me? I don't understand, I whispered. Why me? Eleanor smiled faintly. Your grandmother trusted you. She saw your steadiness, your judgment. The circle has confirmed it. The key is yours now. The metal felt cold and impossibly heavy in my hands. That night, Mother and Ivy cornered me in the study. Their voices were sweet, their smiles sharp. You're too young for this responsibility, Ivy cooed. You don't even want this burden, Ava, Mother added. Hand it over, let us take care of it. For a heartbeat, I almost faltered. My whole life, I'd been told I was second best. But then I felt Nana's key in my palm, and her voice echoed in my mind, steady wins. No, I said, louder than I intended. The key stays with me. Their smiles froze. The air between us turned dangerous. That night, I packed my bags. By morning, I was gone, new state, new apartment, new life. I thought I'd left them behind for good. I had no idea the storm was only just beginning. If you are enjoying the story so far, be sure to like and subscribe and let me know in the comments where you are watching from. When I left home with the Vesna key in my bag, I promised myself one thing: I would never go back. I rented a small apartment in another state, took a modest job, and tried to live quietly. For the first time in my life, no one was looking over my shoulder. No one was stealing my work. No one was telling me I was less than. Life was perfect. And then, I met Daniel. He was nothing like my family. Or so I thought. He was kind, attentive, funny in a gentle way. He listened when I spoke, like my words mattered. When he looked at me, I felt seen, not as Ivy's twin, not as Celeste's overlooked daughter, but as Ava. We spent months building something that felt real. He brought me coffee on long work days, walked me home in the rain, and told me I deserved happiness. When he proposed under a string of fairy lights at the park, I believed him. For once, my steady heart wanted to leap. But soon after, Daniel started asking about my family. You should reconcile, he said softly, brushing hair from my face. They're your blood, Ava. Don't let old wounds control your future. I bristled. You don't know them like I do. No, he admitted, but I know you. And you're stronger than you think. If you go back, it'll be on your terms. His words dug deep. Against my instincts, I agreed. Maybe things could be different now. We returned together. The Lane estate was just as I remembered, grand, cold, echoing with secrets. Celeste welcomed Daniel with open arms. Ivy laughed and called me brave. For one fragile week, I let myself hope. Then everything caught fire. It was supposed to be a celebration, a yacht party off the coast, family and a few guests, glasses raised under the sun. Daniel and I went together, and for once, I thought maybe, just maybe, life was turning. But that night, I woke to screams and smoke. Flames tore across the deck. Panic, shouts, the chaos of people scrambling into lifeboats. Daniel's voice shouted my name once, then vanished in the roar of fire. By morning, divers claimed they'd found no trace of him. His body was gone. Everyone whispered tragedy. And then, the accusations began. They said I set the fire. The police arrived at my apartment with evidence that didn't belong to me. My jacket, stained with accelerant. My phone records, showing I'd been near the yacht alone before the party. A witness claiming they saw me slip below deck with a gas can. I tried to explain, but their eyes were already cold. Ivy cried in the courtroom, whispering about her poor sister's jealousy. Celeste stared at me like a stranger. The jury didn't take long. Guilty. Murder. Life in prison. I remember the clang of the cell door the first night. The silence after the guard left. The smell of rust and despair. I had the Vesna key no longer. By Vesna law, my conviction stripped me of it, passing the power to the next in line, Ivy. She smiled at me as they led me away. Sweet, victorious, untouchable. For the first time, I almost broke. But in the pit of my grief, a whisper rose. Nana's voice, steady wins. So I steadied myself. I waited. And then, one ordinary day in the prison lounge, the truth slammed into me like a thunderclap. On the TV, a live broadcast from Europe showed a glittering wedding. Guests clapping, cameras flashing. And there, on the screen, was Ivy. Dressed in white. Radiant. Laughing. Her groom? Daniel. Alive. I couldn't breathe. My hands shook against the table. The guards told me to calm down, but inside me something had already ignited, hotter than any fire on that yacht. Eleanor visited me soon after, her face grim. She slid papers across the scratched prison table. Your mother and sister orchestrated everything, she said. Daniel was never yours. He was theirs. Together they framed you, seized the key, and covered Celeste's debts with Vesna money. The world spun. My life, my love, my freedom, gone, stolen by the very people who'd sworn family meant everything. I clenched my fists until my nails cut skin. They think they've won, I whispered. But this isn't over. And in that moment, I swore revenge. If you're enjoying this video, make sure to like and subscribe and let me know in the comment how exactly you would get back at those who betrayed you. Prison is loud at night. Doors clang. Feet shuffle. Somewhere, a radio plays a song you can't quite hear. But inside my head, it was very quiet. I could hear only one voice. Steady wins. I wrote those words at the top of a small paper notebook the library lady let me keep. Under it, I made a list with tiny boxes I could check. Clear Dad's name. Find what happened to Nana. Prove Daniel is alive. Show what Ivy did with the Vesna money. Tell the truth where the whole world can hear it. I drew 5 little empty squares. I promised myself I would color in every one. I was not fast. I was not flashy. But I was steady. And steady wins. Eleanor came to see me every Thursday. She brought me hope in folders. She brought me news in careful words. She never promised me more than she could prove. I trusted her because she never rushed and she never shook. I have a place to start, she said one day, laying a neat stack of papers on the table between us. It's about your father. I pressed my palms flat to stop them from trembling. Tell me. Your dad saw his doctor the night before he died, she said. He told the doctor, in his own words, I think someone is slipping something into my drink. The doctor wrote it down. She tapped the page. It's in the notes. Time. Date. Exact words. I stared at the sentence. It felt like standing on a floor I had always hoped was there but never saw until now. Can we prove what it was? We might, Eleanor said. Your father's hospital kept a small sample from his last checkup. The lab still had it, sealed. I asked for a test. The lab found a bitter plant compound, one that can make a strong heartbeat wrong. It doesn't belong in anyone's blood. She paused. It can be hidden in tea. My breath caught. My mother loved tea. She made a show of it, little cups, a silver spoon, a smile that never reached her eyes. Who had access to his drinks? Eleanor asked gently. I did not answer out loud. In my mind, I saw my mother's hands. I checked a box in my notebook. Ballot box with check, clear, Dad's name. Not finished yet. But the square felt a little less empty. We turned to Nana next. Talking about her still made my chest ache, but I wanted the truth more than I wanted to hide from the pain. Your grandmother always wore a medical alert bracelet, Eleanor said. If she fell, it would call for help. That is, unless someone turns the service off. My head snapped up. Off? Eleanor slid a page across the table. The company keeps a log. The call to cancel came the night before your grandmother, before she was found. The number on the log belongs to your mother's phone. The room blurred for a second. Then it came back into focus, sharper than before. I remembered how Mother spoke at the funeral, soft words and perfect tears. I remembered how she pressed my hand and told me some things just happen. Some things are helped to happen. Can we prove it was her and not someone else with her phone? I asked. We don't guess, Eleanor said. We gather. We check building cameras from that night. We match phone location to the house. We find the person at the call center who took the request. We ask what name was used. We ask what reason was given. We pull every thread and see where it leads. I nodded. Steady. One thread at a time. I drew a tiny dot in the second box to remind myself we had started. When Eleanor left that day, I went back to my bunk and wrote 3 lines to keep my mind clear. Accidents don't cancel bracelets. People do. Dad spoke up the night before. Believe him. If the truth is small, show it big. If the truth is big, show it simple. I hugged the notebook to my chest and closed my eyes. The prison felt a little less loud. We started on Daniel next. That part was hard. My hands wanted to shake. My heart wanted to run. I told both of them to sit still. Do you remember what you told me about the yacht fire? Eleanor asked. I remember smoke, I said. I remember shouting his name and not hearing an answer. It was meant to feel final, she said. But people leave trails even when they think they are ghosts. A week later, Eleanor came back with a new folder and a woman with bright eyes and a calm voice. This is Mira, Eleanor said. She's a reporter. She knows where people leave crumbs. Mira set a small recorder on the table. I won't use anything you say without permission, she told me. But I will use every open record and camera I can legally reach. Start with flights, I said. The wedding I saw was in Europe. She smiled. I already did. Mira opened her laptop and turned the screen toward me. There was a list of names and numbers, like a very tidy grocery list. She pointed to one row. Daniel Lane. Same full name. Same date of birth. Same passport number. 1 week after his burial, he sat in seat 2A to Santorini. First class. She clicked to another page. Customs stamped his passport. No time for a new identity that fast. He used the old one. My mouth went dry. So he never died, she said. She clicked again. A bank logo filled the screen. 2 days later, a camera in a European bank filmed a couple opening an account. The names they used were not real. But the faces were. Here. The video still was not very large, but it was big enough. Ivy's smile. Daniel's profile. Their hands together on a form. I thought I would feel broken. Instead, I felt clear. I colored the third box in my notebook. Ballot box with check proved Daniel is alive. We saved the hardest for last, Ivy's hands on Vesna money. The Vesna circle had rules. Old rules. Wise rules. I grew up hearing them at long tables where candles made everyone's faces warm. 2 rules mattered most. The keyholder must sign. The council must approve. Both. Always both. That way, no one woman could act like the whole family. That way, the money stayed safe for the next daughters and the next after them. Ivy has the key now, I said. But the council still votes. And they keep minutes, Eleanor said. They file papers. They sign with pens. She smiled a little. Papers tell on people. For a week, Eleanor vanished into rules and records. She called from a bus once. She sent a message that said, "Almost there." And then she walked in with a thin folder that weighed more than the table. She tried to move a very large fund, Eleanor said. To a bank outside our rules. She filed what she needed. The keyholders sign off. A page of council approvals. She laid the page between us. Look closer. I looked. The lines were neat. The names were known. But Eleanor was right. Papers tell on people. I saw it in 3 little mistakes. One signature belonged to a trustee who had passed away 3 years ago. One date was written in a style that person never used. She always wrote the month first. The notary stamp had expired last spring. This isn't just messy, I whispered. It's fake. Forged, Eleanor said. And forgery is a loud word in any room. We did not rush to shout. We let the truth get all its shoes on first. Eleanor called 2 elders she trusted. They were careful women. They remembered holding the key when they were young. They did not like bullies or shortcuts. We'll wait, the eldest said. The annual Vesna Fund ceremony is 2 weeks away. The press will be there. So will the families. So will the bank managers and the council. If we show the truth there, no one can claim it's a rumor. I felt something warm for the first time in a long time. Not joy. Not yet. But something like hope with its eyes open. I drew a line under the 4th square and wrote, almost. There was one more thing I had to face. It was big and it was heavy, but I wanted to carry it by its handle, not by its blade. What about me? I asked softly. I'm still here. I'm still guilty on paper. Eleanor folded her hands. Truth helps itself. If Daniel is alive, the case falls open. If your father's notes exist, the court listens. If the bracelet was cancelled from your mother's phone, the police look again. If Ivy forged papers, a judge wonders what else was faked. Can a person be free before all the pieces land? I asked. Sometimes a court will let a person go home if new proof looks very strong, she said. It's called bail pending appeal. But even if that takes time, we can do something else. What? We can let the truth speak in a place where your enemies once felt safest, she said. You may be watching on a screen, but the screen can be very big. I pictured the Vesna ceremony, tall windows, bright lights, glittering dresses, smiling cameras. I pictured Ivy arriving with Daniel on her arm like a prize. I pictured my mother, cool as ice, certain as stone. I pictured Eleanor stepping to the microphone with simple words and heavy papers. I pictured the truth standing up straight. The days before the ceremony were quiet on the outside and busy on the inside. In my notebook, I made a new page called Show and Tell and drew 5 simple folders in a row. I wrote little names on them with a blunt pencil. Folder A, Dad's doctor note plus lab test. Folder B, Nana's bracelet logs plus call record. Folder C, flights plus customs plus bank camera. Folder D, Vesna bylaws plus forged signatures. Folder E, a short letter from me. Why a letter? Eleanor asked when I showed her the plan. Because I want them to hear my voice, I said. Even if I'm not in the room. I want them to remember I'm not a rumor. I'm a person. Eleanor nodded. Keep it simple. Keep it kind. Kind is stronger. I wrote the letter that night under the thin light by my bed. I told the truth the way a person tells their own name. I said I loved my father and my Nana. I said I never hurt Daniel. I said I forgave anyone who had been afraid and told lies to feel safe. I said I did not forgive those who planned to hurt others and chose it anyway. I said I would use the key for good if it ever came back to my hand. Then I folded the letter and placed it in folder E in my thoughts, since I could not carry folders through the bars. Mira checked our lines again. She brought me a gift I never expected, still pictures from the bank camera that showed Ivy and Daniel signing together. In one frame, their hands overlapped. Do you want to see these? She asked. Or should I give them to Eleanor without showing you? I took a breath. Show me. She turned the photos one by one. Each picture was a little knife. But the last one was different. In it, Ivy wasn't smiling. Her mouth was flat. Her eyes looked to the side, like a person who hears a door open in a quiet room. Going to the ceremony with Daniel is a risk, Mira said. People like to be looked at, but sometimes the looking burns. They think no one can touch them, I said. Then we won't touch them, she said. We'll just tell the truth. 2 days before the ceremony, something happened that made the prison seem to lean toward the future. Eleanor came in with a small smile she tried to hide, like a mother with a birthday cake candle behind her back. A judge read our new filings, she said. We put in the flight records and the bank pictures. We asked for you to wait at home while the court reconsiders your case. The judge agreed. I pressed my hands to my mouth. I can go home? You can sleep in a bed that is yours, she said. You must stay nearby. You must answer every call. But you do not have to hear doors slam at night. Tears filled my eyes. I did not want to cry. I cried anyway. Eleanor let me. Then she handed me a soft scarf. 2 more days, she said. Then the ceremony. Watch with me from the back of the hall. Quietly. Safely. I nodded so hard my neck hurt. I colored the 4th box. Ballot box with check show what Ivy did with the Vesna money. Ready to reveal. Only 1 empty square remained. 5. Tell the truth where the whole world can hear it. I drew a big star next to it. Not because I was brave, but because the truth is brave all by itself. On the morning of the Vesna Fund ceremony, the city felt new, like someone had washed the sky. I wore a plain dress and strong shoes. Eleanor met me in front of the glass hall where the event was held every year. The windows were tall. The doors were heavy. Inside, people floated like pretty boats. "Stay behind the second pillar," Eleanor said softly. "You can see the stage and the screens from there. If you want to leave early, I will walk with you. If you want to stay, I will stand beside you. Your choice." "My choice," I repeated. It felt good to say. We found our spot. The room hummed with voices and cameras and small clinks of glasses. I saw faces I knew and faces I did not. Elders in dark suits. Young cousins in bright dresses. Bank managers with name tags and careful smiles. Then the doors at the far end opened wider, like a mouth ready to say "oh," and in walked Ivy. Her dress shimmered. Her hair shone. Her arm was tucked through Daniel's like they were drawn together with a line. Cameras turned. Heads turned. Even the air seemed to turn. I did not hide. I did not duck. I stood still. Steady. I looked at my sister and the man who had called me love, and I felt something I did not expect, not rage, not even grief. I felt ready. Eleanor touched my sleeve. "It's time," she whispered. An elder of the Vesna circle stepped to the microphone and thanked everyone for coming. She spoke about the year's work. Then she said words I will never forget. "We have important papers to share today. We will show them on the screen so all can see. We will read them aloud so all can hear. We will tell the truth so all can understand." She looked toward the side of the stage and lifted her hand in welcome. "Please join me," she said, "Eleanor Park." My heart began to beat like a drum you hear from far away. Slow. Strong. Certain. Eleanor walked to the center with 5 slim folders in her hands. A, B, C, D, E. I could almost see my notebook boxes shining. The world leaned forward. The truth took a breath. And the room went quiet enough to hear a key turn in a very old lock. The lights dimmed. The room hushed. For a moment, all you could hear was the soft click of camera shutters and the rustle of silk dresses as people leaned forward. Eleanor placed the 5 slim folders on the podium, her hands steady. My hands, hidden behind the pillar, gripped the fabric of my dress. "Tonight," she began, her voice calm but firm, "we honor the Vesna Trust, a heritage of women protecting wealth and wisdom across generations. But the trust cannot stand on shadows. It must stand on truth." The screens lit up. A sentence in black and white appeared. "I think someone is slipping something into my drink." Dr. Nolan's notes, Graham Lane's appointment, the night before his death. Gasps spread like ripples in water. Eleanor continued. "Folder A, my father's truth." These words were written by Graham Lane's physician, she said. And the toxicology of his stored samples confirms the presence of compounds not prescribed to him, substances that interfere with the heart. This was not a sudden natural passing. This was interference. And only one person stood to benefit from his silence. Heads turned. All at once, the eyes of the room slid to Celeste. She sat very straight, chin lifted, lips pressed into a thin line. But her fingers twitched on the edge of her seat. Folder B, my Nana's bracelet. The next page flashed on screen, call logs from the medical alert company. Nana Elise Lane depended on her alert bracelet, Eleanor said. The night before she died, her service was cancelled. The call came from Celeste Lane's phone. The company recorded the number. The building logs place her inside her home at that very hour. A murmur swept the hall. The weight of it pressed down like a storm cloud. "Accidents do not cancel safety calls," Eleanor said. "People do." My throat tightened. For a moment I thought I might cry, but then I remembered Nana's hands, warm on mine, whispering steady winds. I stood taller behind the pillar. Folder C, the man who never died. The screen changed again, airline records. Seat 2A. Passport scan. Customs stamp. This is Daniel Hale, Eleanor said. 1 week after the fire, he flew to Santorini under his original passport. No aliases. No disguises. Alive. Gasps again. The screen flicked to the next slide, grainy bank CCTV footage. Ivy and Daniel, side by side, hands overlapping as they signed. Here he is with Ivy Lane, opening an account under false names. This proves two things. 1, Ava Lane could not have murdered him. 2, the marriage you see before you, Eleanor's eyes moved to the front row, where Ivy and Daniel sat frozen, is a fraud built on betrayal. For the first time, Ivy's perfect smile cracked. Folder D, the forged hands. Now, the Vesna bylaws appeared on screen, glowing large for all to see. 2 rules circled in red, keyholder sign-off plus council approval. Major transfers require both, Eleanor said. Ivy Lane submitted council signatures for a foreign transfer. But one of the names signed had been deceased 3 years. Another signature was forged in the wrong style. The notary stamp expired last spring. This is not carelessness. This is fraud. The elders in the front row stiffened. One of them shook her head slowly, her mouth hard as stone. Forgery against the Vesna Trust is not a mistake, Eleanor said. It is a crime. The murmur became outrage. Whispers turned sharp: fraud, forgery, betrayal. Folder E, my letter. Eleanor lifted the last page. I end not with my words, but with Ava Lane's. Though she cannot yet speak in this hall, her voice belongs here. Please listen. Her voice softened as she read. My words, written by my own hand, floated out across the marble room. I loved my father. I loved my grandmother. I never harmed Daniel. I forgive those who were afraid. I do not forgive those who chose cruelty. If the key returns to me, I will use it to protect, not to harm. To give, not to take. To honor steady hands, not greedy ones. The room was silent. No clinking glasses, no whispers, nothing. Just silence. Then the first elder stood. She was old, her hair silver, her voice cracked but clear. I vote to strip Ivy Lane of the Vesna key. Another elder rose. I second. One by one, the council members rose. Each voice was a nail in the coffin of lies. I vote to restore the key to Ava Lane. I vote for justice. I vote for truth. At last, the hall erupted, not in applause, but in a storm of voices. Reporters scribbled furiously. Cameras zoomed on Ivy, her cheeks blotched red, Daniel beside her pale as stone. Celeste clutched her purse like a lifeline, eyes darting, searching for an escape that wasn't there. Eleanor gathered her papers calmly. The truth is spoken, she said. The truth stands. What followed was a blur, though parts of it are burned into my memory. Celeste arrested on charges of poisoning and fraud. Ivy indicted for forgery and conspiracy. Daniel exposed as a liar, a con, his reputation shredded overnight. And me? The court overturned my conviction. Daniel's living face was proof enough. The chains I'd carried fell away. I walked out of the courthouse into the sun, and for the first time in years, I felt air that was truly mine. The Vesna circle restored the key to my hand. Cold and heavy, but this time I knew what to do with it. Because power for revenge is sweet for a moment. But power for purpose lasts. I thought of Nana, of her small apartment full of books and jasmine. Of her belief in me when no one else had it. And I asked myself what she would want me to do. So I founded the Lane House. A foundation for women betrayed by their own families, cast aside, or left with nothing when greed took over. We gave them shelter, education, a second chance. We gave them the thing my grandmother always gave me, belief. I didn't hoard the wealth. I poured it. Into hands that needed it, into lives that deserved it. At the ribbon cutting, Eleanor stood beside me. Mira snapped photos for the papers. The elders nodded their approval. And I smiled, a real smile, not one for the cameras. Because Steady had finally won. Not just for me, but for everyone who needed proof that the truth, even when buried under lies, can rise. Sometimes people ask me, did you ever speak to your mother again? To Ivy? To Daniel? The answer is no. They chose their paths. And I chose mine. What matters is that I learned the greatest lesson of all. Money and power don't change people. They reveal them. And in the end, they revealed me too. Not the quiet twin. Not the overlooked daughter. But Ava Lane, keyholder. Steady. Unbroken. Free. Have you ever discovered someone's true colors when money, power, or trust was at stake? What did that moment teach you about who really stands by your side? Share your experiences in the comments. Your story might help someone else find courage. If this journey resonated with you, don't forget to like and subscribe for more powerful life lessons told through real stories of betrayal, resilience, and justice. And please share this video with someone who needs the reminder that true strength isn't about how loud you are, but about standing steady when it matters most. Thank you for listening, and may you always find the wisdom to see through the masks around you, and the courage to choose the relationships that honor who you truly are.